Hello everyone, it's Richard Lewis here again with another video, and today I'm going to be giving you an update on one of the stories we followed right from the start when it broke and right the way through, and it's an update about the Tmartn and Syndicate CSGO Lotto scandal. If you missed it, again, I don't know where you've been the past year or so, or 18 months, it might certainly been a while, but basically two popular YouTubers, Tmartn and Syndicate, they owned a skins gambling website and didn't disclose it, and people were using the website sort of under the belief it was just another website that had no connection, perhaps beyond sponsorship and endorsement, to these YouTubers. And another Call of Duty YouTuber called Honor the Call discovered that in fact they owned it, and it spiraled from there. It created certainly a big wave of people finally starting to look into what these skins gambling websites were doing, you know, myself included. We got the Phantom Lord thing off the back of that, the CSGO Diamonds thing off the back of that. There was just a lot of shady stuff going on behind the scenes that people didn't know about. So anyway, what's happened just yesterday, I literally just got out of rehearsal for E-League when I saw the story, is that the FTC, that's the Federal Trade Commission, have given a ruling about the CSGO Lotto incident, and they've settled with Tmartn and Syndicate. And I think a lot of people are disappointed because, spoiler, they didn't get a fine. Now, I'm going to give it to you in sort of plain English and show you the ruling and talk about a few other things. But I think initially people were very upset because there's a perception that these guys got off scot-free. I mean, first of all, I think we need to accept the FTC is limited in what it can do. My understanding is of the Federal Trade Commission's remit, it could only offer a fine anyway. And certainly, this is the kind of first ruling of its type, but we'll talk about the impact of that in just a minute. Here's the ruling itself over on the FTC website, and you can see, says Trevor Tmartn and Thomas Syndicate Cassell, two social media influencers who are widely followed in the online gaming community, have settled Federal Trade Commission charges that they deceptively endorsed the online gambling service CSGO Lotto while failing to disclose they jointly owned the company. Interestingly enough, they're listed as having a 42.5% share each, which does leave some equity out there, but I don't know who else has it. It'd be interesting to know. They also allegedly paid other well-known influencers thousands of dollars to promote the site on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook without requiring them to disclose the payments in their social media posts. So they not only deceived their audience themselves, they paid other YouTubers, other personalities to deceive you as well, which is really bad, in my opinion. I'm sure you agree with me. And they were paying them between, as you can see just from down here, between $2,500 and $55,000 to do videos or whatever based on the reach. Now, I'd like to see a complete list of all of these influencers. I think the term influencer is disgusting, by the way, but I think that's a separate video in and of itself. You know, I'd like to see a complete list of these influencers, because what's also interesting is not only were they paid and agreed to not disclose it, they were paid and they also agreed not to say anything negative about the site. So I imagine, like a lot of NDAs or non-disparagement clauses, there's a time period on that. So they were basically agreeing that even if the secret got out, even if the service turned out to be a complete scam, they wouldn't say anything about it. So these people need to be identified and put on notice, because they have lost their right to ever be a credible force, if you like, a credible source of consumer interest. So anybody who took money from CSGO Lotto needs to be put on a fucking list of people you absolutely cannot trust. Anyway, so it's a little bit worse than we thought on that basis. I knew they were paying other influencers. I didn't realize it was quite, here's some money, don't disclose the ownership, don't disclose we've paid you, and don't say anything bad about us moving forward. That changes the complexion a little bit of the operation that they were running. Anyway, you can see here there's a statement from the acting chairman of the FTC, Maureen Allhausen, who says consumers need to know when social media influencers are being paid or have any other material connection to the brands endorsed in their posts. This action, the FTC's first against individual influencers, should send a message that such connections must be clearly disclosed so consumers can make informed purchasing decisions. And they also said that they've sent warning letters to 21 social media influencers it had contacted earlier this year regarding Instagram, which is another sort of emerging area. So let's just talk a little bit about this. I mean, first of all, there is some good things. I mean, you know, look, we're all disappointed, right? That they didn't get the book thrown at them. But first of all, as you can see, it's the first ruling of its kind. So there's that to take into consideration. This is a new area for the FTC. And I don't know if you remember, but there was a sort of almost like a faux scandal, if you want, in the sense that the mainstream gaming press picked it up, and there's always an agenda with that. But they basically had discovered, you know, hey, look, there's all these YouTubers not disclosing promotions for, you know, Warner Brothers games or whatever it was. And they used PewDiePie basically to leverage clicks, even though PewDiePie had done nothing wrong and was later proven to have done nothing wrong. That kind of opened Pandora's box about this online disclosure problem that we've got, which is YouTubers will just promote any old shit. I mean, let's be clear. There is a group of YouTubers, you know, out there. There's very few who will take a stand for consumer rights and not take money from shady companies. But there's a very, I'd say a large portion of YouTubers out there who will promote any old shit for money. They don't care if the product works. They don't care if it does what it says. They don't care if it's funded in a shady way. They don't care if it's a fad. They don't care if they scam its users. And more importantly, they don't want to disclose that they're taking money for it because they understand that that kind of makes you a shill. And that's the one thing that will get you criticized, and it's stupid, because if a YouTuber does disclose, this is an advertisement, I'm just using my reach to show you this product, this is how I eat, I don't think you should come down on those guys like a ton of bricks, honestly. At least they're being honest. Now, it's a separate issue if, look, they're honest, but the product is fucking garbage. Absolutely. There's a separate ethical discussion. But, you know, I see this all the time with, like, YouTubers like Kriparian. Full disclosure in the video, in the description. They couldn't be plain that this is an advertisement. I think they even have, like, tags around it on YouTube. And their audience, like, but this isn't you playing Hearthstone. Fuck you. And you're like, this is dumb. This is really stupid. This person's doing it the right way, at least. He respects you enough to be truthful with you. Now, the FTC has been sort of slowly encroaching into this space, and with this ruling now, this blows the doors off. This is them saying, look, we're here, we're watching, and if anybody does this in future, the fact we've tried to send this warning out, first time ever we've done it, perhaps more serious punitive measures will be coming down on high. So there is a positive there. I understand it's not what we all wanted. Now look, let's also be clear. The FTC can only issue a fine. That's pretty much as far as they can go. And we know these guys made millions. We know they're still making millions, right? We know these super wealthy dudes off the back of what they do. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is the FTC can only issue, like, fines, you know, it's capped. It's not like unlimited fines. So I think even if they'd issued a fine, I think we'd be a little bit disappointed by the number that came out. You know, we'd be like, yeah, you know? So I get it. People wanted these people to go to jail even in some cases. But it's got to be said, this is just the FTC ruling. So we knew there was just the FTC issue here, right? This is nothing to do with the ongoing civil suits, which could result in huge damage payouts. Could do. We don't know. That's an ongoing process. To my understanding is that's still going, and there's no plan on that stopping anytime soon. And the other issue is, if criminality is ever, you know, retroactively discovered, you know, if the FBI decide to investigate online gambling casinos, and again, I've said it many times over, they will find a sprawling criminal conspiracy behind these sites. But if they ever decided to do that, this isn't in place of any criminal charges should any wrongdoing be discovered. So you know, it's not the end of the story by any stretch of the imagination. This is like, you know, it's like the fucking end of Lord of the Rings with like 50 different fucking endings. You know, it's like, look, you can end it here, you can end it here, you can end it here. Okay, you're off to the Greylands. Oh, fuck, there's a fucking epilogue, you know, on and on it goes. So this is just one of the endings. This is the FTC's, you know, their end of involvement with this story. Now, again, a lot of people as well out there are saying, oh, they haven't been punished. There's a bunch of stuff here, which is actually, I think it's kind of brilliant in a way, because they are going to get fucked. The way they live their lives, the way they run their business, that they have had to agree off the back of this ruling to a code of conduct that I believe lasts 10 years. Okay, and think about this: if you're an influencer and you're doing this kind of business and stuff, 10 years, long fucking time. Certainly in our space. And again, there was a code of conduct they had to agree to, and I'll read you some of it here, that basically what they've agreed to off the back of this is that, first of all, moving forward, they will disclose all material connections, you know, ownership, equity, whatever it is. They will disclose all of that in all of their businesses, anything they promote moving forward. If they don't, it is a violation of this agreement, of this settlement, and they can receive further punitive action, which, again, could be fines, could be an escalation, depending on the nature of it. They've also said that they must monitor what they're doing and everybody else they work with. So if they have a product and they pay an influencer to influence it, it will be their responsibility to monitor that anybody who endorses their products moving forward does it in the right way. Think about that. They have now taken on for 10 years any person they pay to promote their shit has got to disclose it. And if they don't, sure, the FTC will look into them, but they will be held responsible for it. Any misrepresentation, any failure of disclosure, that will happen. And also as well, when it comes to responding to any charges or further instances of the FTC investigating them to ensure they are compliant, they got 10 days where they got to respond stuff. So it's pretty... This is a major ball ache. This is a major inconvenience, and it's got to be said as well. They need to. And this is also for 10 years. They've got to issue a compliance notice should they change any ownership, any change of status with any of with anything to do with CSGO, Lotto, or anything like that, and they got to send it within 14 days. Under penalty of perjury. So you can see here it says each respondent must submit notice of any change in any designated point of contact, the structure of corporate respondent or any entity that the respondent has any ownership interest in or controls directly or indirectly that may affect compliance obligations under this order, including creation, merger, sale, or dissolution of the entity or any subsidiary, parent, or affiliate that engages in any acts or practices subject to this order. Additionally, each individual respondent must submit notice of any change in name, including alias or fictitious name. If Tmartn finally decides to change his name, which, you know, absolutely I would if I was him. He's fucking tainted. He's a disgusting human being. Or B, title or role in any business activity, including any business for which such respondent performs services, whether as an employee or otherwise, and any entity in which such respondent has any ownership interest and over which respondents have direct or indirect control. For each business activity, they must also identify its name, physical address, and any internet address. What this means is, moving forward, they're going to have to be absolutely fastidious in all of their record keeping. They're going to have to notify the FTC of all of these changes, anything that happens, anything they do, any promotions they engage in. You know, this is yes, it's an inconvenience, but honestly, it means that they aren't kind of free to just do business in a normal way anymore. They've got to literally dot the I's and cross the T's, and they've got to do it for years. I mean, some of these rulings are 5 years, some are 10, I think some are even 20 years. So, look, I get it. You know, we're all disappointed. We wanted to see huge fines handed down. We wanted to see the gavel come down on these people. And I'll say this as well. These guys were hucksters. These guys were scam artists. They lied to you. Tmartn especially, more than Syndicate, because he was the guy who said, hey, I just found this website, and then tried to pretend that, like, walk it back, that he never said that. And like, oh, it's no secret. You deliberately obfuscated the fact that you own the website. So these guys now, this is how they make their living. This is their bread and butter. So I want you to think about that. I want you to think about being permanently scrutinized moving forward, having to bring in a sort of third-party body, you know, every time you want to make serious material changes to the way you do business. It's not the worst. It's like being, you know, it's the business equivalent of being on house arrest and having to account for your whereabouts at all times. So I look, it's not great. It's not amazing. I, you know, can understand if people are disappointed, but I'm sure this is something that these guys aren't happy about by any stretch of the imagination. And as I said, it now means the FTC are going to have a permanent camp in what we do in this online world. They've issued letters out there now, you know, basically to influencers saying, hey, look, even Instagram, you know, like it's ridiculous that you've got to explain this to people, but if you take money, you gotta disclose it. So I think overall, I think we can say that this is a good ruling, even if it isn't the one that a lot of us had hoped for. I think it does change the landscape positively for consumers. You know, look, I'm as disappointed as you, but the reason I can be kind of a bit more, I don't know, reflective about it all is there were worse guys than this, and they've got away without even FTC looking into them. These guys might well be the poster boys for online CSGO skin scamming because it was the first story that really broke. But what they did wasn't, by any stretch of imagination, the worst thing that ever happened. These were not the worst offenders. That doesn't excuse what they did, but that's real talk. So, yeah, that's what happened. You know, I think they're going to breathe a sigh of relief, but there's still ongoing action. There's still potential civil suits to settle. So they're not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination. And I think this is about as far as the FTC could have gone. And I think majorly inconveniencing the way they do business moving forward is not the best punishment, but it's a punishment. Let's not move away from that. I haven't seen that as widely reported in the stories. People are saying the headline seems to be no fine, but there's a bunch of stipulations which are a major pain in the ass. So there you have it. That was kind of the tale that I wanted to tell you all, and I know you guys have been following that story on this channel especially. So there you have it. We're kind of getting closer to a final conclusion, but I have no idea what's going to happen with the civil suits or anything. And as always, we'll keep you up to date right here on this channel. So thanks a lot for taking the time out to watch this video. I hope you're all well, and I will see you next time. Take care.